Prynawn da, thank you for joining me today. A few weeks ago, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released a report that made for very stark reading. It was undoubtedly the most authoritative and comprehensive assessment to date on the impacts of climate change, and it showed that action to build resilience and prevent climate change cannot wait. We are already being impacted by the effects, and further change is already locked in, and the situation is worse than previously thought. We are already seeing the devastating effects of our climate changing, globally and here in Wales. The memory of storms Ciara and Dennis in 2020 is still fresh in our memory. In parts of Wales, we are still repairing the damage caused by these destructive storms. And too many people now live in fear of heavy rainfall after losing their homes in the floods. Just last month, we experienced 3 major storms in short succession. They left homes and businesses without power, closed schools, and damaged other buildings and structures. Fortunately, the damage and disruption was not as significant as we feared it might have been. But nevertheless, at least 65 properties were flooded. This will have been hugely traumatic for the people and families affected, and I want to extend my sympathies to all those who are affected by storm damage and flooding. Unfortunately, climate change means that these sorts of storm events and extreme weather patterns are likely to increase in frequency and intensity. This also means flooding is going to become more likely. Against this backdrop, and in light of our programme for government's commitment to invest more in flood management and mitigation, I am today announcing our largest ever flood programme. We will be investing more than £71 million next year and £214 million over the next 3 years. This increase in capital funding will help develop a stronger pipeline of future flood schemes and help us to plan for the future. I'm also pleased to announce, in line with our cooperation agreement with Plaid Cymru, a £24 million increase in revenue funding over the next 3 years, which will allow us to increase Natural Resources Wales' budget by £1.5 million to continue the important flood prevention work it carries out, increase the funding local authorities can apply for to £225,000 per council, and to extend the Coastal Risk Management Programme by another year. By extending the Coastal Risk Management Programme by 1 more year, I would urge all councils by the sea to take advantage of this extra funding and to continue to work on the design of schemes which can start construction before next March. And there will be £34 million of additional capital funding to deliver more flood protection schemes across Wales. This increase in funding reflects our commitment to manage flood and coastal risk and to protect homes and businesses. In the last 12 months, we've reduced the risk from flooding to almost 1,000 homes and businesses across Wales, and another 3,600 are benefiting from enhancements to existing schemes and maintenance work. There are some great examples of flood defence works being completed around Wales. I've had the chance to see some of these, and I look forward to seeing more. Yesterday, I visited the Abrahavn coastal scheme. This is a £3 million project which has strengthened the seafront promenade and is protecting homes and businesses from future storms and floods. In North Wales, Denbighshire Council has just completed the £27 million East Rail Coastal Scheme, which was funded through our programme. It is benefiting around 1,650 properties. This year, more schemes will be completed, protecting more homes and businesses. I am publishing details of all schemes which we will be funding, together with an interactive map. Our overall investment will benefit at least 14,600 properties next year. But this isn't just about building new flood defences. We are also maintaining existing defences, developing new schemes, and mapping and modelling projects to better understand and communicate flood risk. Our funding will support development work on a further 86 schemes, which will feed into future programmes. Our ambitious national strategy for flooding and coastal erosion in Wales, which we published in 2020, sets out how we are improving the way we work together to reduce risk. And we've also published the Wales Flood Map, a national asset database and flood map for planning, all of which incorporate climate change. We are focused on recognising risk now to support the future generations. The record levels of investment I am announcing today reflect the importance this government places on flood risk management as we face the challenges of climate change and work together to adapt and prepare communities for the future. I look forward to working with Sian Gwynidog, the designated member for the cooperation agreement, to invest even more to protect more homes and businesses from flooding. Thank you very much indeed. Diolch yn fawr. I will now take questions from journalists. As usual, all my answers will be broadcast live on our social media. And I think the first journalist today is Stefan Messenger from BBC Wales. Stefan.
Thank you. Two parts to my first question on flooding, if you don't mind. First, to pick up on the budget increase you mentioned for NRW, is 1.5 million enough when they've previously said they need funding for 60 to 70 additional full-time staff working on flooding? And then your climate change advisors, the CCC, said recently there's little evidence of a strategic approach in Wales beyond Fairborn on how to deal with communities we're not going to protect in future from sea level rise. What's being done about that?
So on both those points, the 1.5 million is a very specific increase. We are working with NRW across its budgets to do what's called a baseline review, to understand exactly what their needs are and to develop what are called service level agreements to put in place between us and NRW so that we can direct their staff to the right priorities. So we're working very hard, Stefan, to ensure that all incidents can be responded to and that we understand what that looks like in cost terms. So I'll be able to announce further details of that once we've completed the review. In terms of communities at risk, we will be consulting widely with coastal communities about which communities are particularly at risk, like Fairborn, and which communities will need protection. The councils are being asked to do a serious flood containment plan, which will allow us to have a look council by council at what their communities need in terms of protection and what further things we need to do to either help those communities to adapt or help those communities to be protected. So further details of that will be announced once we've got those plans in place.
Thanks. And secondly, if I could just ask about today's report on sewage spills from the Senate's Climate Change Committee. They say the public is right to be outraged by what's happening in terms of those spills. What are you doing about it?
Yeah, so I very much welcome the Climate Change Committee's reports, and we look forward to reviewing the recommendations and responding to the committee in the normal course of events. We absolutely do need to take an approach to improving water quality which is best suited for the specific circumstances in Wales. I've discussed this with the committee, of course, in an evidence session. Reducing impacts from storm overflows is an absolute priority for us, and we are currently working on sustainable nature-based solutions to achieve this. We're also working with Natural Resources Wales to encourage water companies to come up with plans to develop a more resilient wastewater and drainage infrastructure to deal with current and future pressures caused by factors including population growth and climate change. Thanks, Stefan. The next one is Adrian Masters from ITV Wales.
Thank you, Minister. Are you confident that Natural Resources Wales is the right organisation for extra funding to go to, and is there any merit in the Conservative suggestion of a national flooding agency?
We are working very hard with NRW to make sure that they are fit for purpose, that we understand what their budget and staffing requirements are. I've had a very good relationship with the leadership team since I came into this post in May of last year. I'm very confident they will be able to deliver our asks of them. I don't see any merit at all, I'm afraid, in introducing another level of bureaucracy. We have an extremely good working relationship both with NRW and with our local authority delivery partners in Wales. I can't see what introducing a third agency would do other than increase costs.
Thank you. And if I could ask you a general Welsh Government question, which is about the Welsh Government support for Ukrainian refugees, whether or not, could you say whether or not you've had a response from the UK Government to the offer of a super sponsorship scheme? And if so, what services you think that the Welsh Government can offer to help people who take refugees in?
Yes, so we've had an ongoing dialogue with the UK Government. We had a cabinet meeting yesterday to discuss it as well, which included partner organisations from around Wales. We're very committed to supporting refugees from Ukraine. We need to be absolutely certain that they're well placed in places that they can have sustainable and safe homes, but with all the services that we know that they will need wrapped around them. So, you know, these are people fleeing war, so they will have all kinds of aftershock from that. They will have existing medical needs. They will have all of the normal human condition needs that we're all familiar with. We want to be sure that our public services are stepped up to be able to assist them in their hour of need and to make sure that they're wrapped around so that they can remain safe and secure here in Wales. So we're working with the UK Government to understand as much detail of that as possible and working rapidly with local authority partners to get that in place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. The next person is Caitlin Parr from LBC.
Thank you, Minister. Some homes across Wales have had to fund their own repairs for flooding in recent years, especially those who are finding it increasingly difficult to get insurance because of the likelihood of their properties flooding. Will there be funds for relief for those alongside the funding announced today for local authorities, especially now as the cost of living crisis is making it expensive enough to run a home?
Yeah, so we have a scheme in Wales which assists our local authorities with the repair costs. They have to apply to trigger that scheme when certain thresholds are made. I'm not aware that any of them have applied to trigger it yet, which means that they're coping with it inside their own resources. In some circumstances, we've then made additional payments to individual householders. We haven't activated that as yet from the previous storms. We do work closely with the local authorities to understand what the need is. We also work very closely with the insurance industry to make sure that the flood re-scheme, which is a scheme which allows householders who would otherwise have very increased costs from flooding to get access to insurance which assists them. So the First Minister's held in the past summits to make sure that that's functioning in Wales. If we're asked to do so by the local authorities, we'll do that again.
Perfect, thank you. And the Welsh Conservatives have said in response to the funding today that it's all well and good putting money towards flood defences, but not if you're not addressing the root causes of climate change. So what would you say to that? And what's the next stage of the plan for the Welsh Government in tackling the climate crisis?
So we've set out in great detail what we're doing to tackle the climate crisis in our Carbon Budget 2 and our Net Zero Wales plan. We've also made a number of efforts to already start the policies there. I have to say that it would help the Conservatives a lot more if they would actually support some of those measures in the Senedd and not always oppose everything that we propose while still saying that they want to go faster. So we've introduced a roads review, for example. We're reviewing a large number of the other things that we do in Wales to make sure that we are doing them in as carbon neutral a way as possible. And I'm particularly proud of the optimised retrofit scheme, where we're rolling out the right tech to the right home in Wales to make sure that they're as decarbonised as possible. Thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. The next one is Will Hayward from Wales Online.
Thank you, Minister. On that subject, we're in the midst of an energy and gas crisis, and people in Wales are seeing their energy bills rocket at the moment. Can you give us an update on what the Welsh Government is doing to find a cheaper alternative to gas boilers? You've stated an ambition to have no gas boilers in Wales by 2030. Do you believe that Wales is on target for this, given all the large-scale developments around Cardiff currently have gas boilers being installed?
Yeah, so what we're doing is, as I say, we're rolling out something called the Optimised Retrofit Programme. We're doing that with our social landlords first so that we can trial various techs, which came out of something called our Innovative Housing Programme and other technologies, to make sure that we know what works for each type of house. We have some of the oldest housing stock in Europe, unfortunately. We've already been able to bring our social housing up to EPCD through the Welsh Housing Quality Standard, and we'll be rolling out the next iteration of that for those homes. We're also overskilling the workforce and working on our supply chains so that we can start to offer those services to owner-occupiers and working with the private rented sector to incentivise them to bring their homes up to standard. But it's essential to get the right tech into the right house and to have all the right insulation and other measures that go with that to make sure that we can get those homes to be as carbon efficient and as energy efficient as possible, both to tackle the cost of living crisis and fuel poverty and also to decarbonise the homes.
Okay, so just to push on that, do you think you are on course for that ambition of no gas boilers in Wales? And on my second question, there's renewed interest in building a barrage across the Bristol Channel to generate tidal power with a new commission being set up. What is the Welsh Government's position on a potential large tidal project in the Channel? And what can the Welsh Government practically do to aid these projects? And how likely do you think they are to happen?
So on tidal power, we're very keen to ensure that the technology works and that all of the right environmental protections are in place. But it seems, an absolute no-brainer, sorry to use the cliche, to use one of the highest tidal ranges in the world to generate that power. We're very keen, therefore, to make sure that the UK government funds that in the right way. We're very ready to step in and help. But it will be subject to all of the right environmental impact assessments and other things to go with it. But fundamentally, we think that the tidal power needs exploiting around the coast of Wales in order to get the renewables that we want. Thanks, Will. So the next question is from Harry Hansen, That's TV.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Minister. Kind of off the back of Will's question there, there's been a lot of talk about tidal lagoon being built in Swansea over the past few years. Many of my viewers and residents in Swansea are really confused about the government's stance on this. Could you provide me with an update?
Yeah, so Swansea Council, as I understand it, is working currently on a project in Swansea Bay. We're very ready to help them with that, and we also have our own Tidal Lagoon Challenge, which we will be announcing shortly. We are very keen to exploit the wave energy around Wales. We have a number of other projects around the coast of Wales, both in the north at Morlais and in the south at Pembroke, in which we're trialling a number of wave technologies which will be suitable to generate power.
Thank you for that. And moving on to something else, I wanted to ask you about the UK's first hospital-owned solar farm, which is at Morriston Hospital in Swansea. I know you've been there. It's proving incredibly effective at cutting costs for the hospital. £120,000 have been cut in energy bills, and as well as reducing the hospital's carbon footprint. Taking that into account, and with rising fuel costs and things like that, would the Welsh Government be looking to invest in similar projects across Wales?
Yeah, so that's a great project that's been delivered in partnership with our Welsh Energy Service and a number of other partners. Wales is very good at partnership working, so it's been great to see the Health Board do that. I had the real privilege of doing the official opening of it yesterday. It's a great project. There's also a great potential for our Hedges and Edges tree planting project around there and increased biodiversity on the site too. They have a very innovative private wire network running to Morriston Hospital, and when I was on site yesterday, they were generating 130% of the hospital's energy, so we're actually feeding it back to the grid. Yes, of course, we'd love to see that spread out across Wales. It's very much part of our public sector net zero by 2030 programme, and it's a really good head start for us for that programme.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Harry. So the next one is Tom Magner from Carers World.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Can I bring you back to the subject of energy bills? Latest research by Carers Wales, published this morning, finds 51% of unpaid carers in Wales already unable to manage their monthly expenses. 80% of unpaid carers say they feel stressed and anxious about the immediate future. How are you going to turn around these key financial issues as a government while thinking more about climate change?
Yeah, so as I said, we're very keen to make sure that people are able to decarbonise their homes as fast as possible, because we know that both reducing carbon also brings alleviation from fuel poverty. I've been really privileged to visit a number of our innovative housing programme social homes being rolled out, several of them opening at the moment around the country, where the energy bills are either zero or actually feeding energy back into the grid. What we need to do is get that technology rolled out, and as I explained in an earlier answer, we have an optimised retrofit programme which is designed to make sure we have the right tech in the right home, that we can make sure that that's accessible, and we have the supply chains and skilled workforce to do that. We need to trial that technology, make sure it works before we advise people to take it up, but we're in the process of doing that. We're just coming to the completion of, I think I'm right in saying, the third year of that, second or third year of that. We're starting to get the results back, and we'll be in a position to roll it out with grants and other assistance very shortly.
Viewers will certainly be looking at what you're saying and thinking, yes, that's fine for the future, but the problem is right now. And just picking up again on a further aspect of the Carers Wales research, they found 66% are having to cut back on heating now, 10% are already in arrears now, and 48% are really worried they can't heat their homes to a safe level in the coming months. 41% are worried they'll have to use a food bank. So whilst appreciating the positive news that you're speaking about today, the harsh reality is now, isn't it? With growing pressure on unpaid carers who are already, they tell us, at full stretch.
So we have a number of instant mitigation effects in place for this Conservative cost of living crisis. We're very concerned about the way that energy bills are structured, and I've had a number of meetings with Ofgem and the UK government to try and mitigate that. But in the meantime, we're in the business of putting money back into people's pockets through the discretionary housing grant, through the social housing grant for people who are in social housing. We have a winter fuel payment for those who are eligible for it. There are a number of other grants available to people. I would urge anyone in that position to go along to Citizens Advice, who we fund to give advice on this, to make sure that they get all of the grants that they're eligible for in Wales. There are a large number of them, and I'm sure that many of your carers will be eligible for them.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.